Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Secretary Noem, the nation has watched horrified as immigration agents killed Renee Good, Alex Pretti. In Chicago, one of your Border Patrol agents shot Miramar Martinez 5 times after ramming her car. You and your agency rushed to brand these victims as, quote, domestic terrorists. We have ample video evidence and eyewitness testimony proving you are wrong. Your statements caused immeasurable pain to these families. Let me give you an opportunity to do the right thing. Do you retract these statements identifying these individuals as domestic terrorists?
You know, Senator Durbin, when we have these situations happen, we always offer our condolences to those families, and I offer mine as well. These are tragic situations, and I can't imagine what these families go through in losing a loved one. What I will say is we always work to provide the American people with as much information as possible, that we're relying on reports from the ground and from agents that are there, and working to be transparent, and we'll continue to do all that we can to provide the accurate information and the facts to people as we can.
Where did you get that information? In a recent hearing before the HISGAC committee, CBP and ICE officials testified under oath that their agencies did not inform you that Pretti was a domestic terrorist during that hearing, stated during that hearing.
I was getting reports from the ground from agents at the scene, and I would say that it was a chaotic scene, as you've seen in Minneapolis and St. Paul, as immigration enforcement has gone forward, and we've worked at targeting the worst of the worst, that many times our agents have been faced with violent
the victims of
protesters.
That violence domestic terrorists as a way to calm the scene?
These violent terrorists have put them in a situation where it's unprecedented what these agents have faced it. So that situation on the ground that day was chaotic, and it was something that they were transpiring and sharing information
them as
with us.
Terrorists. Can you explain why you decided to brand these victims that we all saw on video, who were out protesting the activities of your agency and were killed as a result of it? How did you think that calling them domestic terrorists at that scene was somehow going to calm the situation?
You know, Senator, we are working in those situations where there's a tragic loss of life and that there is something that our agents are involved in, that we continue to deliver information.
Is it so hard to say you were wrong?
We continue, as these investigations continue to go, we will provide, I absolutely strive to provide factual information, and we'll continue to do that.
And when you fail, do you admit it publicly?
Absolutely. We always know that there's room for improvement, that we will.
Keith Porter Jr. and Dr. Linda Davis. They were Americans killed by ICE. You have not given their family any justice. Say their names. Their Black Lives Matter. Their Black Lives Matter. Their Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to turn to another incident where DHS is concealing the facts from the American public. Geraldo Luna Campos died in an immigration detention. DHS claimed he killed himself, but an independent medical examiner found his death was a homicide. Witnesses stated Mr. Campos was strangled by the guards at a detention facility. Instead of investigating this death, your department tried to deport the witnesses to the crime. It took a judge intervening to ensure the fact that these witnesses remain in the country for investigation. Secretary Noem, who ordered those witnesses be deported?
Sir, I can't speak to the details of that case as it continues to be investigated, but I do know that within our detention facilities, we have the highest federal standards of any detention facilities compared to state or other local facilities that may detain.
There was an effort to deport the witnesses?
Sir, I'm not aware of that, and I will continue to look at that. Whenever there is an incident where we have someone who works for DHS that has done something wrong, there is always an evaluation, an investigation, and there is consequences for that. So we will continue to do that investigation and make sure that the right thing is done if something
Who's doing the investigation?
There are internal investigations within.
Investigation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. ICE and
outside independent agency that's part of that investigation?
Not that I'm aware of at this point in time, but I may not be able to speak to the details of this case because I'm not fully
Shame,
informed
a
on it.
man lost his life. Just last week, the Republican-appointed chief federal judge in Minnesota identified over 200 court orders that ICE officials had violated in the last 2 months. He wrote, quote, "The court is not aware of another occasion in the history of the United States in which a federal court has had to threaten contempt again and again and again to force the U.S. government to comply with court orders." In a sworn declaration, the Trump Justice Department itself acknowledged that your agency has violated court orders more than 50 times in recent weeks in one state, New Jersey. Secretary Noem, is DHS required to follow federal court orders?
Yes, sir, and we do comply with federal court orders.
How do you explain that your agency has repeatedly violated court orders, as your own administration has admitted?
Sir, we follow court orders, and when they apply and when the jurisdiction and decision is applicable to a federal agency like ours.
I'm sorry, would you clarify what you ended that with?
We follow court orders when they are given to us. Federal court orders we follow,
So
absolutely.
these judges are wrong?
No, I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I can't speak specifically to that statement that was given.
Let me ask you about DACA. Are you familiar with the program?
Yep.
Do you understand the people that are covered and protected by DACA have to go through a background check, which includes a criminal check? Yes or no?
Yes?
You do? Last week, your agency informed us that last year ICE arrested 261 DACA holders and deported 86 of them. We learned about a DACA recipient who'd lived in this country for decades, was arrested by ICE at her green card appointment. In tears, she hugged her daughter goodbye. She was deported to Mexico within 24 hours. Madam Secretary, why have you deported dozens of DACA holders who had to comply with a criminal background check to be eligible for DACA?
Sir, we follow all laws as applicable to the Department of Homeland Security
Why
and
did you
how we
deport
handle
them?
detainment and deportations.
Why did you deport them?
I don't know the details of that specific case you just read, but I'll look into it, sir. But we ensure that we follow the law that applies to our department and who we detain and who we deport back to their home
You
countries.
clearly violated the law if that is the case. Let me ask you about the fact that 85% of the 400,000 immigrants that ICE arrested during President Trump's first term in office had no violent criminal record. The president said over and over at his rallies, "We're going after the worst of the worst, the terrorists, the murderers, the rapists." And then it turns out that 85% of the people you've gone after have no criminal history whatsoever. How do you explain that?
Sir, when you talk about violent crimes, what you're saying, the crimes that don't matter, that you aren't counting, are ones that affect American families every single day. You're not counting DUIs, you're not counting embezzlements, you're not counting theft, and you're not counting the other crimes against people and drug trafficking and proliferating that. So if you don't count those as crimes,
I
that
know
these
they do
individuals
count them.
and
They count them,
impacting
and they-
families in this country,
They are counted, and they calculate
Those-
that 14% of those that you
those are not
arrested.
counted in your 14%. If you were counting crimes that these individual illegal aliens in this country have committed, it would be well over 65 to 70% of the individuals that are detained today have those crimes on their record, besides the crime of being in this country
Going to
illegally.
back that up with some information for me?
Absolutely, I will.
I certainly hope you will. How does taking a father from a child dying of cancer qualify? Where would that be? Is that a violent crime?
I don't know what you're speaking or
I'll tell you
referencing
exactly
to.
what I'm speaking of. Ruben Torres, 2 weeks ago, buried his daughter Ophelia. When he was arrested at the Home Depot in Norridge, Illinois, he said to those who, your agents, "Please let me go home. My daughter is dying of cancer. I would like to be with her in her last days of her life." They said no. They arrested him and deported him for 2 weeks. Finally, he returned for a court hearing. His daughter lived to see that hearing where the court said he was treated unfairly by your agency, and she died 3 days later. I was at her memorial service. Is that really necessary? Was he a violent criminal?
Sir, we enforce the law. The laws that are passed by
What
this
law?
body and signed into statute on the process for individuals that are in this country illegally, that have final removal orders, and the process given in immigration law. We continue to follow that, and if you don't like the law, I would suggest you change the law. But that is what we do
We
every
tried to
single
change the
day, is
law
go out
with-
there.
we tried to change it with comprehensive immigration reform, and it was stopped by the Republican House of Representatives.
Our job at the department is to follow the law and make sure that we are a nation of laws, because
I don't
a
think
nation
you're-
that
I don't
doesn't
think
follow the
you're even
law
close when it comes to that.
is no nation at all.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Graham.
Thank you very much for coming. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Thank
now
you.
we can.
Thanks very much. Well,